being who you are is what the world needs, and that may sound cheesy, but I absolutely stand by that, and it's becoming more and more important to be who you are. And it used to be really hard for me to just be, because most of my life I defined myself through doing. I was living and working in the startup world, and for many years I defined myself through how much I did, how much I achieved, how much I did, like looking back now, I'm not surprised that I was like in a burnout and that I just failed to understand what my body needs, what I truly need on the inside. I was so identified with the identity that I had built for myself of being a woman in business, a woman in technology, a woman in management and startups, that I didn't, realize who is Vanessa on the inside. Maybe my soul doesn't have a name. Maybe my soul doesn't identify through doing. Maybe there's more. And once I went on to this journey to understand who am I really on the inside, this is something, maybe you're gonna like shut off the video right now, and fair enough, because you're like, oh my God, what she's talking about. And that's fine. Then, this is not where you're at. But for those of you who are feeling like a wind of change, so to say, and feel like, wow, I believe there must be something else, or I'm feeling that I'm not fulfilled anymore or happy with just, like running behind titles and external achievements. Maybe you're not feeling that this is authentic anymore and that the facade is coming down in some way. And that's the feeling that I started to have as well. Yesterday, I was looking accidentally, as I was cleaning up my laptop, at old photos of when I started working as a practitioner, as, with people. And I realized that everything was supporting me. Although it was scary to, stop my business and my job in technology, although it was scary to step out of that, something was supporting me and it felt really right to do it. And although, my mind would get sometimes in the way and think about all the things that could go wrong and how I could fail and whatever, there was a much stronger sense of purpose that was pulling me forward. It was like an invisible hand, kind of like pulling the strings, and I was just in the driver's seat a little bit. Sure, I made active decisions, but that was also the time in my life where I started trusting my inner sense of truth and intuition much more, where I started trusting synchronicities more and what I felt I wanted to do rather than what I thought I should do, what people want to see from me or hear from me. Yeah. So in that process, you also become more truthful with yourself, because when you're identified with a character that you have built for yourself, probably also through growing up, through your peers, through your environments that you are going in and out with, friends, with family, with colleagues, with the industry you're working in, with a partner possibly, or whatever, those elements affect you. And if you are somebody who likes to be in control and likes to feel safe, then, going with the uniformity of society may have felt consciously or subconsciously supportive and safe for you for many years. But maybe you're in a place now where that, pretentious safety or pretense safety is crumbling, and you're realizing actually that doesn't feel like me. And I've been there too. And that was a very difficult phase in my life where I, on the one hand, had huge realizations, and on the other hand, felt like my reality is crumbling and that feels unsafe, and what next, and who am I, and what's going on with me. And I just want to share that with you so you know you're not alone. And I will on this channel speak much more about what happens when that perceived reality, that perceived safety is crumbling, and you realize, whoa, I'm not doing what actually feels true to me, or I'm not saying no to the things that don't feel true to me. And you will probably see yourself realizing more and more things that may feel out of alignment for you, that you've been doing or experiencing over a long period of time, and now you're like, that doesn't feel right anymore. And that's okay. Just know wherever you're at, if you're scared or not, maybe you're excited, it's okay to be where you're at. And after that, there will also be a better phase coming, and it's really a beautiful opportunity to connect deeper to who you are, and possibly even get in touch with qualities that you haven't even touched yet, that you haven't even had awareness for yet. There's so many people who change. I have so many friends, for example, one of them changed from business strategy or business consulting into an artist. They are an artist now, and working on their art all day long and having exhibitions and everything. It's kind of like when you're stepping out of the societal hypnosis of, oh, you have to have a house and three kids and a Mercedes and a boat and a title and so much money every month to matter, to be somebody. No, you got to understand that you already are somebody, that you already are more than somebody, because you are a soul. And you are not a human who is spiritual, but you're a spirit, you're a soul embodied. Part of your soul is embodied in the human body. And when we start expanding our consciousness and looking at things from a wider angle, so to say, and from a place that may feel unfamiliar and therefore maybe a little uncomfortable or scary, and maybe even, we want to brush it off immediately. But who says that this is not the truth? You can't tell me that, right? Don't come here with science, because science is only a kind of like, science always comes after consciousness, after spirituality, or after what we feel. So we have a hunch or a feeling of something, or a belief or a knowing, and then we're trying to prove it. That's what science is. We're trying to prove that something exists and how something works, for example. Now, I really believe that there is more to the world than just what we see. And I think a lot of people are getting humbled at the moment when and waking up to that reality, that there's more than the eye can see, and that you have feelings within you that may or may not be processed, that you have talents that are completely untouched within you, because you've never taken the time, or not enough time, to actually journey inwards rather than journey outwards all the time and try to run and run and run to be somebody. Again, you already are. You already are. And for me, that was hard to understand. In 2020, I quit everything. I was already working with sound therapy, and I was already on my growth, internal self-development growth, spiritual journey. But I think in 2020, I started taking it very seriously. And that's where my life was full on going in that direction. I quit the startup that I co-founded, and I decided to jump headfirst into sound therapy. Within a week, I created my website. I could use my old office as a studio, so I ordered mats and pillows and blankets to do sound therapy in that office studio, so I could use it as my first studio. And that was incredibly lucky, but that was also divinely guided, because I, had the opportunity to just get started. Within 1 week, everything was ready and people found me. I don't know how they found me, but they found me. And I started giving sessions 3 times a week, group sessions. Then I started with one-on-one sessions. Then I got deeper and deeper and started to do other trainings. So through the sound therapy, through my self-practice, and also working with people, I understood, wow, I'm so curious about this. I'm so excited about this. It helps me, it helps others. Let's dig deeper. And then I started doing trainings in breathwork and somatic therapy and inner child healing and parts work and all these modalities, because it just felt natural for me. And the time went by so quickly, and I had never the feeling of, oh, I need to study or anything. That just felt like a privilege for me. I get to be in that. Oh my God. I get to have clients. I get to work with people on supporting them to feel better or become who they really are and express themselves. Wow. Like, until this day, I cannot believe that I get to work with some of you, some of clients that I've had before YouTube. It just feels like really surreal. And I'm sharing the story with you because I want to show you that when you are allowing yourself to move into the direction that feels really true for you, and true is sometimes it can get easier. And sometimes when we're very afraid to be ourselves and express ourselves authentically, then we may feel fear that we need to work through. Yeah. And I just want to let you know, you don't have to become a coach or a therapist or something like that. But what is your equivalent of your honesty, your truth, your authentic contribution to the world? And in order to find that out, we often have to do shadow work. So I don't know if you've ever heard about shadow work. I think I haven't really introduced this topic yet on our channel. But shadow work is basically looking at the things and the topics and the emotions and the parts of you. Yeah, we talk on this channel a lot about parts work. So we are made up of all kinds of parts. You can imagine yourself like a puzzle. Everybody is a puzzle. I like this analogy. I use it a lot. And some of the pieces we lost along the way. So we are kind of like trying to retrieve them, trying to reintegrate them. Some pieces we think they fit, but maybe if we are looking a little closer, they don't really fit and they have a space somewhere else in the puzzle. And some of the pieces we're very familiar and very comfortable and confident with. And so that's what we can build on. Yeah. And some of the pieces of us are hidden or suppressed, or we need to get in touch with them so that we can integrate them, so that we can create the full picture and become who we really are. And you already are who you are. You just may not have the awareness about who you truly are. Like, it's already here. It's not something you find in the Himalayas or in Machu Picchu. It's not something that you find outside of yourself, basically. But it's something that is already here. It's just about expanding your consciousness and awareness so that you can be aware of it. And how does that work? Shadow work is quite a powerful way to do that, because when we do shadow work, we are looking at the shadow. What is the shadow? Everything we cannot see. It's blurred. It's blurry, right? It's in our shadows. So it's kind of something that we need to make an effort to look at, because otherwise, we are not automatically directed to our shadow. Why? Because our brain constantly tries to protect us. And the way that it learned to protect us is to suppress, ignore, and hold back any experiences and any memories of that could be painful to you. What the brain doesn't know, or what the mind doesn't know, is that by suppressing, you're actually creating more pain. Sometimes, when we had like a difficult experience and we cannot process everything at a time, for example, let's say, and I obviously wish that on nobody, but if there's like a difficult accident and you lost somebody and all these challenging emotions come up, your brain may suppress part of the experience, part of the emotions, part of the memories, because it may feel too much for you to deal with, too painful. So then over time, you may go to a therapist or a coach or any other practitioner, because you realize like, oh, I feel like I'm holding on to something is holding me back and I don't know what it is. So then you may go into session with somebody and realize, oh, I still have pain that I'm holding, grief or shock that I'm holding. So let's process this. Let's process these emotions and integrate what happened. Yeah, this is just one example. There could be a million examples. Another one could be that as a child, you grew up learning that you're not good enough. So you suppressed maybe your intuitive gifts. Maybe you're an intuitive, a psychic. Maybe you are very sensitive and emotional, like a lot of artists. So maybe you would be a great piano player or a great songwriter or a great poet. Yeah, but you never allowed yourself to be sensitive because mom or dad said, don't be sensitive, don't cry, boys don't cry, focus on school, or I'm making all that up, but just for the sake of the example. Yeah, and then you may have learned that your sensitivity is not allowed. So you're hiding it. You're telling people, I'm good, but you're not allowing your friends to know when you're not good. And what is so bad about not being good? It is your shadow. It is the shame that was created for you about your sensitivity. You told yourself the story, oh, being sensitive is embarrassing, or not having it all together is embarrassing. Or, for example, I know also a lot of clients that deal with anger and don't allow themselves to be angry, although it's completely valid emotion when we know how to process it healthily without harming ourselves or others, right? So, for example, if you learn growing up you're a bad boy or you're a bad girl or a bad child when you get angry, when you have a tantrum, and then you learn to suppress your anger and your upset when growing up. So that can mean one of the ways that could come out is that you never speak up about what doesn't work for you. So you may have not learned to draw boundaries. You may have not learned to say no to things and experiences and people that aren't good for you or that don't feel aligned or good for you. And that means you may have become a people pleaser. You may not want to rock the boat. You may just want to try and adapt to every situation. What happens? You get resentful because you don't feel seen, you don't feel heard, and you most likely feel that for the outside world. So you may not feel heard and seen by others. But you also, and here's the most important thing, you also don't hear and see yourself because you're not allowing yourself to express yourself authentically, not just to others in the world, but to validate your own emotions. Yeah. And when that can create a lot of guilt and shame. When I have clients that start now to draw their boundaries, and they come back to me and they say, oh my God, I felt so guilty last week. And I said, okay, that's okay. Because when you start realizing that you're allowed to do something, but your system is not actually used to being allowed to draw boundaries, it may feel uncomfortable. So that may bring up guilt or shame. Yeah. And when you feel guilty and shameful, you don't want to feel that. So you may fall back into old patterns where you prefer to people please instead of drawing boundaries. But you're perfectly capable of feeling guilt and shame. So allow yourself to rather feel guilty and shameful in the process of learning how to draw boundaries. I had to do that as well, and it was very uncomfortable. And sure, I fell back a few times because I thought like, oh my God, because your mind tells you suddenly these narratives of you shouldn't have, people will not like you anymore. But this is not true, because everybody who is respectful and who deserves to be in your life will also accept your respectfully drawn boundaries. Yeah. But if you learned as a child that you're not allowed to have boundaries because you were not allowed to have an opinion or to have a tantrum or to be angry, then you may think you will be rejected because this was your initial wound experience. This was how your wound was created. But just because one person or two people felt that way and actually they suppressed their own emotions because that's what they learned in their journey growing up with their parents or caretakers, and they felt probably not respected by you having a tantrum. So if adults cannot handle children, then they are quite immature. So they also didn't learn to regulate or, deal with their own emotions. So their emotional intelligence is not very mature or expanded. And that's okay. Again, no judgment on any parent. We have what we have. It is what it is. And at the same time, as an adult now, you watching this video, you decided to probably change your journey and learn how to regulate your emotions and wanting to become who you are and express yourself authentically, to be fulfilled, to have a free heart, to have a free mind, and to make a contribution to the world that feels good to you and like a liberation. That's how I feel now. And I just can tell you that shadow work is something really powerful, because if we look into our shadow where we, suppress parts of ourselves that we feel guilt, shame, blame, insecurity, resentment, anger about, all these emotions, it's important to walk towards the wound, to walk towards the pain. And not many people yet, unfortunately, but we're growing the number of people in the world dare to walk towards the pain, because we are so trimmed towards instant gratification that we are not willing to take the leap to feel our emotions and do that in order to feel fulfilled and safe and loved and loving in the long run. So we need to expand our capacity to feel pain. And here's an important distinction. It's not to tolerate pain. It's not to stay in a relationship, just an example. It's not in order to stay in a relationship where your partner is treating you badly consistently and you're supposed to, expand your capacity to feel pain. That's not what I'm talking about. That is tolerating pain. That is suffering. And that's not right. So what I'm talking about is expanding our capacity to feel. Because if we want love, if we want safety, if we want fulfillment, we also need to allow ourselves to feel through our wounds, through those painful moments in life that are still aggregated, that are still living within us if we haven't processed them. And through processing that pain, through building capacity to feel our held emotions from when we were children, from last week, from 2 years ago, whatever, if we allow ourselves to process that through, on the other side of that is always more love. There's always more safety, and there's always more joy and fulfillment. So shadow work can be looking at where we feel shame and pain, and that can mean that we're looking at, it's also called a golden shadow. So a golden shadow is always parts of us that we have disowned in order to be loved or to be accepted in the world. So let's say your sensitivity can be a golden shadow. Golden, means that it's a gift, basically. It's something really beautiful, a quality, a gift of yours that you have suppressed to fit in or to be loved, because it wasn't accepted or safe to express yourself that way as a child or growing up. Yeah, or in few incidents in a traumatic situation as an adult. So let's take an example. Let's say you've always been very sensitive as a child, and you've always felt a lot of people around you, but you were not allowed to, whenever you were telling the truth that you felt, but the adults didn't want to hear it, so they suppressed, or they said like, shh, that's not true, or don't be so sensitive, like let it go. And you learn to be ashamed about it and suppress it. That's why a lot of people suddenly start to realize, oh wow, I'm a singer, oh wow, I'm a healer, oh wow, I'm a musician or an artist. Because we have suppressed so many of our talents, our sensitivities come with our talents. Because being sensitive, being a feeler, being somebody who senses things and sees the world in a unique way. Yeah, maybe you've seen the world in a unique way as a child, but your parents maybe didn't quite get it or didn't nurture your gifts and qualities. And so maybe you learned my creativity doesn't exist or is not important. A lot of people think they're not creative, but that's not true, because when you allow yourself to practice or let it out, you finally realize, wow, actually, I never thought I was creative, right? So that can be the golden shadow, a skill or a quality that you have that is actually really part of who you are, and that needs to be expressed, because that will give you a feeling of fulfillment. And then we also have the shadow that many people don't want to look at, because there's often the shadow sides where we gain, quote unquote, we always gain, but where we are more on the softer side. But then there are also shadows that we need to look at, and all of us have both sides, where we have been maybe not the best people. Yeah, where we have to own also, wow, I used to freak out on other people. I used to, not me, but I'm just giving some examples that could be. I used to, always be the victim in situations and not let other people, be heard. I needed to always be in the spotlight, or I'm not speaking about myself, just to clarify, I'm just trying to come up with examples. Like the shadow can also be owning where you have behaved in ways that were maybe out of ego, maybe greedy, maybe you've, I think a good example is gossiping about other people, where you've gossiped, where you've judged others, where you have belittled others, where you haven't been a good person. And I'm not saying that to judge you, but I'm saying it's just as important to own where we have not been, the kindest people and the most loving people, and own that, because there's a reason why you've felt the need to act like that. It's just important to own those parts, as much as it's important to own those softer shadows, I want to say, where we feel more like we've been suppressed, or we've been, like inferior, making ourselves inferior. Where have you tried to make yourself more significant? Yeah, maybe this is a good way to put it. Where have you tried to make yourself more significant or bigger? And where have you tried to, suppress or make yourself feel more inferior to fit in? So we need to look at both, and I know that's not always easy to do, but I really encourage you to be brave and courageous, and maybe write out in your journal for starters. We're going to talk about this more in other videos, but for today, maybe just write out in your journal, hey, where did I, not treat people well? What are, characteristics that I had that may not be you, but maybe your shadow ways, where I, where I try to be more, or try to be egocentrical or egoistic, and not really kind and loving to others? And then also, where did I try to, hold back? Where did I try to not allow myself to be more? Yeah. Where did I suppress parts of me? So check in with yourself. I'm really curious how this process is going to be for you. Comment below also and share with me, what does this bring up in you? Maybe you're also triggered from what I'm saying, and that's okay too. Just be conscious about it and realize, oh, what you're saying makes this with me. Or, what does it bring up? Because this is what emotion does it bring up inside of you. Is there anger? Is there the need to defend myself? Is there the need to, run away or, turn off the computer or the phone? Or is there the need to release, to cry, to laugh, to feel relief or euphoria, Like realizing gifts of ourselves can also feel euphoric and exciting and like a relief, because we're like, oh my God, subconsciously, I thought I'm not allowed to be sensitive, or I'm not allowed to be loud, or I'm not allowed to, be romanticizing life or be cheesy or cringy or whatever. And then on the other side of this is also, sometimes I behaved like this and maybe that wasn't right. That was not me. I was so focused on this and that I, put everything else behind. It's just about understanding, which parts of you you've disowned, either due to making yourself smaller or making yourself more. Either way is to be accepted and loved, or not to be rejected and not to be neglected. So dig in, because this week, this is going to be a big topic, like owning your shadows. No matter if it's the easy sides, the softer sides, or the more crunchy bits. Yeah, go inward. I'm telling you one more sentence why it's really going to help you. It's really going to help you because what we don't own owns us. So that will make you not dare to go and ask somebody out. It will make you not dare to start your business. It will make you doubt all the time who you are and what you're capable of. It will make you feel like you're not enough all the time, like you're not having the things that you need, like you're not beautiful enough, like you're not capable enough, like you're not smart enough, not intuitive enough. No. By looking at your shadow and owning who you truly are and accepting, first of all that you are, all the way you've always ever behaved, all the way you've ever suppressed yourself. And that may bring up some grief. And that's okay. It's part of the process. Okay? So I will put, again, the meditation that I uploaded on YouTube. I will make some new ones once I have settled in my new place. And just try the meditation, because it can already help you to look at parts of yourself. Okay, you can just, in the meditation, I say, connect to a part of you that's angry or upset. And instead of that, you can just picture a part that's your shadow. Yeah, and just get curious and share with me also in the comments what you discover. I'm super curious. Leave a thumbs up if you like this video. I'm sorry, this is a little on the longer side, but important topic. Okay. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching till the end. I love you and I see you tomorrow. Subscribe. Ciao.